Good morning, party peeps. It's Thursday. Friday's good looking sister. So we're almost done with the week, and you're almost done with the course. One more day. 2 more days with today included. And so just wanted to reiterate a couple things. Many of you are right on point and right where you need to be. But as we explained from the beginning of this course, this is a mandatory pass course to get a driver's license. And to pass this class, you need an 80% or higher. So I only offer A's and B's or F's. And so anything below an 80%, even if it's a 79.4, that's an F. So don't put yourself in that position. Make sure all your assignments are in. Mandatory pieces. All assignments are required. All assignments need to be passed with an 80% or higher. None of the assignments are okay to opt out of. There is no opting out. All assignments are required, but the big boys are the virtual parent night. That's worth 200 points. That has to have a score in, otherwise you are ineligible for a license. Needs to be completed during the time frame of the class, which is June 15th to the 26th. Also, simulators. You've been working on the simulators. Today is the day that those are due, and there is a submission for that. You should get a completion slip when you complete the simulator number 12 today and take the test, and it will have a completion slip with your name in it. That's what I need as documentation. You get 50 points per simulator, and it's an all or none. So you either get 600 points or 0 points. So if you get half of them done, you don't get half the points. It's an all or none deal. You have to complete all the simulators. And I will accept those until tomorrow at 11:59. I would prefer to have all those in by today at 11:59. Okay? And if you've been working on those, that's been pretty easy. 1 to 2 simulators a day. Most days you were just doing one simulator. So definitely need to make sure you're good to go there. And just kind of dot the I's, cross the T's. We gave you last Friday to kind of catch up. This week has been a little bit lighter load so that you can continue to turn in the assignments. There are still required assignments each day. All retakes and resubmissions need to be taken care of before Friday at 11:59 p.m. So if it's 12:05, you missed it. Okay? Please do not wait until 11:59 to submit your final assignments. Make sure they are there early and make sure you're on time. Like I say, I'm preaching to the choir for the most part. Most of you have been doing fantastic and you're right on key. Some of you are ahead. And we definitely should be at that point as we're in the winding down phases of the class. Also, I have most people signed up for driving groups. I still have a handful that need to fill the remaining spots. On the calendar, there are available spots still. There's some groups that I have open only if needed, and that's if we have additional people adding in. Right now we have enough slots to service all the students that we know of. Okay? And remember, with driving groups, it's really important that you keep practicing, doing all your driving homework, but also spending that additional time on the things you know you're struggling with, so that when you get to driving groups, we can go over everything in grand detail. We'll give you lots of time to practice. We'll give you 4 hours on the range, 3 hours out on the road, and you will observe for 6 hours in the car. So you'll get some great training. The road test is included in that. That will be scheduled on the last day. So remember, if you should have received a confirmation email from me saying you've signed up for a group. If you have not received one of those, that means you have not submitted your top 3 choices. At this point, you need to make sure you look at the calendar at the available dates. That will make it a little easier to choose from. But make sure you get your submissions in if you haven't already. It is your responsibility to remember the dates and times. You have to attend all 8 days of the driving group. No day can be missed. There is no makeup days scheduled in. And so you will drive every day from the date span that is on the calendar, and you will drive at that time unless it is the driving range. And the driving range is 7 to 9, 9:30 to 11:30, or 12 to 2, depending on how many groups we have and which instructor is assigned to you, okay? And so you will find out your range times on the first day that you drive, okay? You need to wear a mask. You need to arrive 15 minutes early. You need to have your learner's permit with you, and we'll meet in the back parking lot of Woods Cross High School on the driving range, which is the gated area. And there's actually a driver's edge shed that we will be doing our health pre-screening, taking your temperature, asking you 6 health questions. Please update us if you have had exposure or tested positive for COVID. Obviously, that's a game changer for everyone. So please communicate with that so we can reschedule you or change spots, okay? So not showing up for a driving group is not okay. You are scheduled, you committed to this schedule. If there's any changes in that, please notify me ASAP so that I can make the changes on the calendar. This is a major coordination of efforts. We have a lot of shareholders involved of arranging the cars, the instructors, the students, the parents dropping off and picking up, health screening. There's a lot involved, so we want to make sure that you're doing it the proper way, okay? So hopefully all this makes sense. All this should be just as a reminder from communication we've already been having. But just keep practicing your driving to get ready and get yourself confident. We're going to have a blast in the driving groups. Like I say, there's no better classroom than in the car. While we're out there doing it, giving you instruction, I love it. So I look forward to being in the car with you, and our instructors are excited to be with you. Just make sure you're doing your part to practice the maneuvers, okay? So when we say practice driving, don't drive to grandma's in Ogden and say, okay, we practice. Did you park? Did you pull over to the curb? Did you back up at any time? Did you lane change? Did you encounter any intersections or right-of-way rules? Did you work on stopping behind the stop lines? You know, all that stuff is pretty critical, okay? So keep practicing the right stuff to prepare you for the groups, and there should be plenty on Canvas that gives you things to practice, okay? All right, so for today, Thursday, June 25th, 2020, I wanted to share a story with you. And the story has to do with two things. It has to do with the freeway. And a lot of you talked about the freeway. And I wanted to share a kind of a silly experience that I had when carpool lanes just came out. So they were kind of a new concept for Utah. And I'll tell you about that one, and then we'll tell you about the expectation on the freeway, okay? And the rules of the freeway, okay? So first story. I call this story, Have You Ever Read a Sign? Okay? And kind of the backstory is carpool lanes just became a thing. My family and I had just purchased our first boat, and we were taking it on its maiden voyage down to St. George to play with family, and we were going to have some golfing and some boating and all sorts of fun, right? And so I had my SUV pulling my boat, and I had 5 licensed drivers in the car. We're all buckled, we're all cruising down the freeway, and traffic starts to pile up, and there the carpool lane is. So I naturally, because I have 2 or more passengers, I just gravitate to the carpool lane, and I start passing just clusters of cars, and I literally said, "Oh, this carpool lane is amazing. I love it. Look at all those sorry suckers that have to sit in traffic. Here we are, because we qualify, cruising along the left side of the road with no traffic, relatively no traffic." And then I look at my rearview mirror and I see lights and sirens behind me. UHP, Utah Highway Patrol, is behind me. So, good quiz question here, students. If an emergency vehicle is behind you, and the carpool lane has 2 white solid lines that specifically say do not cross the white lines, can you cross those lines if an emergency vehicle is behind you? The answer is yes, you can, and you're expected to. And even if they're pulling you over, they want you to pull over to the right, not the left. They don't want anybody over on the left shoulder, right next to the carpool lane, the fast lane. So move over to the right. They'll follow you over if they're pulling you over. And if they're not, you just get out of their way, and then they move on. Now, can you re-enter the carpool lane with double white lines after an emergency vehicle has moved you over? No. You may not. You have to wait for the next break in lines, and then you re-enter, okay? And so we're driving along. We see this highway patrolman behind me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there are criminals ahead of us that this highway patrolman needs to go and get. I shall move over, and this will be great. So I move over. He moves over, and I'm like, oh my goodness, sorry. I am still in your way. I will move over again. I move over again. He moves over with me. I'm like, holy crap, he's pulling me over. Ah, what have I done? Come on. And I make my way all the way over to the right side, and he's moving with me. And with my SUV and boat, and I'm like, and my wife's like, were you speeding? And I'm like, no. I had the cruise control set. I was right at the speed limit. I was doing good. I wonder what's going on. And so then I have the pleasure of meeting the world's grumpiest highway patrolman that I have ever met. Okay, most of them are awesome. But this guy, somebody peed in his Cheerios or something. I don't know. He was mad. And he came up to the passenger side, because the driver's side is freeway side, so they don't like to do that. So I roll down my window, and my wife's in the passenger seat, right? And so this guy is yelling into my car instantly. Like, he's fired up instantly. And he's so fired up when he's yelling into the car, he's spitting. So he's kind of spitting and on my wife, right? So I'm looking over, and this guy's like, "Have you ever read a sign?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. This guy is an armed individual. He's law enforcement. I am scared, okay? What the heck is this guy so mad about?" And I said, "Well, yes, sir. I read signs. I'm really good at reading signs." And he's like, "Lately?" And I'm like, pressure's on. Yeah, I think I've read signs lately. And he's like, "License and registration." And I'm like, okay. So I reach in, I get my license, my registration, proof of insurance, and I give it to him. And he snags it out of my hand and goes to the back. And I'm just like, holy crud. What have I done to this guy? Whoa, I have hit a nerve. I have done something offensive. I'm quizzing all the licensed drivers in the car. No one knows why I am pulled over to the edge of the road. And is it speed? No. Was I going too slow? No. Was I going too fast? No. Did something fly out of the boat? Maybe it's the boat. Maybe something flew out of the boat. But I look back, we had a snap down tarp. Everything's neat and tidy. And I'm like, did I remember to put the tags on the boat? And I'm like, my wife's, I remember we both worked on that. We put the tags on the license plate of the boat. Okay, so, maybe the lights aren't working. Maybe we tested those before we went. And I was just like, oh man, I'm stump the dummy contest. I don't know, right? And so he comes back and he's like, "Did you think of it yet?" And I'm like, no. Sorry, man. Sorry. We quizzed the car. I don't know. Is it something to do with the boat? And he's like, "Now you're getting warmer." And I'm like, I really apologize. Sir, you got me. Okay. What did I miss? And he opens up the Utah handbook, which was a lot smaller back then. It was really tiny. And he pulls it back out. He pulls it out and he points to the carpool lane. And there's a little sign in the handbook, and it's still there, that says, "No trailers in the left 2 lanes." And I'm like, did not know that. Okay. And I was like, okay, sir, you got me. This is my first time pulling a trailer, which it was, like, of my own trailer. We just got this boat. The carpool lane is new. I was unaware that you could not have trailers in the left 2 lanes. How common are these signs? And he says, "You passed 3 of them while I was behind you." I was like, And I was like, okay, man, cuff me, take me away, like, oh crap. And I was like, you got me. I am so sorry. I teach driver's ed. This is somewhat embarrassing to me because I teach the signs, signals, and markings of the road. And I tell my students they got to read the signs and pay attention because the road is communicating with you and telling you where to go. And he goes, "You teach driver's ed?" And I was like, "Yes." And "How long have you done that?" And I think it was 10 years at the time or something. And he goes, "Okay, I'll make you a deal." And he started to calm down, less spitting on my wife. And he says, "Okay, if you promise to tell this story in all your classes so we can stop having people ride with trailers in the left 2 lanes." And he goes, So you can't be in the carpool lane. You can't be in the fast lane. And I was like, holy moly. Wow, I see trailers in all those. And I was like, wow, okay. And he goes, I just saved you $337. That's a carpool violation ticket. Oh, that would have been an expensive boat trip, even more of an expensive boat trip. And so I said, sir, I will promise, I will tell this story to every class that I ever teach, because you got me. I did not understand that. Now I do. Now I will be looking for those, and I will obey that law. I am so sorry. And I was like, do you get people breaking this all the time? He's like, I literally park in this same spot that I saw you at, and I just pull people over all day for that. And so you are my 10th person this morning that I pulled over. And so I was so fed up, and I'm like, I am so sorry. So finally we de-escalated the situation. He was friendly, and and so I said, okay. And he said, so I'm just going to give you a verbal warning to no trailers in the left 2 lanes. Come on, man. That's your responsibility to know the laws when you have a trailer. And I'm like, okay, I got it. So for a decade now, I have been telling this story, and for a decade now, I have been vigilant at obeying that law, okay? And so do not allow your family and friends. Summer is the time to go out and use the recreational areas. Go boating, hiking, fishing, biking, right? We're pulling our toys, okay? We're pulling our camper trailers. No trailers in the left 2 lanes. Carpool lane and fast lane. Very important lesson learned, okay? And so we pull out, we get going, and man, I'm reading those signs, and they are so common. I have no idea how I missed them. They were there. They're right in sequence. Motorcycles and buses are okay. No 2 or more passengers. Do not cross the double white lines. I had all those. No vehicles with a GVW of over 12,000 pounds can be over here. So that's your big trucks and stuff. Okay, that makes sense. But then the next one, no trailers in the left 2 lanes. Wow. Okay, so as you drive the freeway, check those signs out and check how regular they are. It's probably commonplace to you because you guys have been growing up with carpool lane has been there for your life. But for me, it was new, and whoops. Okay? Now, the other lesson and story that I want to tell you today is about the freeway. Okay? We have 3 rules of the freeway. We get on at speed, we drive at speed, and we exit at speed. Right? So everything is dealing with speed, and the speed of the freeway is 70 miles an hour for most of our areas. We still do have some 65 mile an hour zones, but very limited now. We do have some 75 mile an hour zones that's north of Ogden, south of Provo, and also east of Salt Lake Airport. Okay? You'll run into some 75 zones out to Windover, right? And usually those are, the middle of nowhere kind of scenarios. On the way down to St. George, you'll have an actual big patch of 75, and then you actually get an 80 mile an hour zone down to St. George, which is pretty awesome. It's in the middle of nowhere, so it makes that trip to St. George even a little quicker. So fantastic. Obey the speed limits. Go the speed. Okay? Now, ironically, the safest speed to travel on the freeway is the speed limit. Many will go faster, which you'll see. Some will go slower, which you'll see. Slower traffic should always move to the right. And slower traffic by definition is anybody that's going slower than the car behind them, okay? So if a car is coming up on you, you need to move over, okay? The only time you don't need to move over is when you're in the far right lane. There's nowhere to move over. You're there. They'll pass you on the left. When you're in the carpool lane, you also don't need to move over because you have your double white lines, okay? And so you just need to get in there, commit to going the speed limit, and then obviously when there's a break in the lines, people are supposed to come out of those behind you, use the passing lane, otherwise nicknamed as the fast lane, pass you, and get back in, okay? Now, if you're being a good team player and you look in your rearview mirror and you're in the carpool lane and you got a load of people, bump up your speed a little bit, look for your next break, and then move over 2 lanes and let that pile through and then come on back, okay? But in reality, it's their responsibility to move if you're on the far left in the carpool lane or the far right, which is the entering and exiting lane, okay? Anytime there's cars behind you in any other lane, you need to move over and let them through. And so I like to compare the freeway to like a river. It has a flow to it, like a river has a current, right? And if I were on the edge of or the bank of a river and threw a stick in, the stick would immediately get up with the flow. The current would take the stick away, right? And so you have to visualize yourself being that stick when you're on the on-ramp coming in. You want to get up to speed so that when you do merge in, that you get swept away and you get going, okay? And that if you are going slower than somebody, move to the right and allow them to pass you on the left. Now, on a river, if a bunch of sticks start to pile up, and it starts to block the flow of the river, we call those dams, right? It's a dam. It blocks the flow of the river. So, I don't want you to be a dam driver, okay? Because a dam driver blocks the flow of the freeway. And dam drivers are people that just stay in their lane and refuse to move over, okay? And it applies to the left fast lane for sure, but any lane that is traveling other than the ones mentioned, far right, carpool lane, far left, okay, you must move over and let the flow come through, okay? Let the current happen. And there'll be faster currents, slower currents, and on-speed currents. So a lot of times when people hear the term get up with the flow of traffic, they mean, oh, if everybody's going 90, I have to go 90. False. That is completely false. Do not believe in that. No, no, no. Shame, shame. No. Okay? That means if I'm in the far left lane and I have my cruise control set at 70 because that's the speed limit, and I look in my rearview mirror and I see cars coming up behind me, it is my responsibility to move over. It's not my responsibility to go 90, okay? And so what you'll find, and you'll see this in driving groups, and it is incredibly powerful. When we're driving in driving groups, we will be alone on the freeway, but the freeway will be packed. And you'll be like, how is this happening? I've never done this. Well, because people like to travel in packs. And because of the damn drivers, they won't move over, so it just keeps getting a bigger and bigger pack, okay? So, don't be a damn driver, okay? Get out of the lane and make sure you spell damn right. We're not swearing. We're not mad at you. We're just saying you're blocking the flow. Get out of the way, okay? So don't be a damn driver. Damn drivers are, man, they block the freeway and they cause traffic jams and they cause traffic crashes because you now get faster traffic, faster cars that are moving to the right to pass because the people on the left won't move. and now you have somebody that's going 80 on the right side of the freeway, he's gonna cause all sorts of problems over there. Okay, so when you come up to a pack of cars, or when you're getting ready to enter the freeway, we get on at speed, we drive at speed, we exit at speed. So your goal is to get up to 70 miles an hour on the on-ramp. So you got to feed the ponies, you got to give it horsepower, you got to hit the gas, and you got to get up there, and then you just make a normal lane change where it opens, and you come on in. When you're going 70 and somebody else is going 70, it is very easy to let you in. But if I'm on the freeway going 70 and you're coming onto the on-ramp going 60, and we're coming to the meeting point where the gore area comes in, the merging area comes in, that's going to be problematic for you and me. Okay, now you're going to force me to make a lane change the last second because you're coming in so slow. So make sure you get up to speed. And then when you're driving on the freeway and you're coming up on a car, make your move. Make your move early to the left. We pass on the left and get past that cluster. But you will be amazed. I'm excited for you to see it, because we'll be out on the freeway. It will be packed with cars, and no cars will be around us. And that's not because they can read driver's ed. Well, maybe, but no, okay? It's very few people drive the speed limit. So the safest speed to travel is the speed limit. And you'll be able to manage a time and space around you like you'd never believe. And the freeway becomes this awesome experience where you get from point A to point B quickly and efficiently and safely. Statistically, the freeway is the safest place we can drive because everybody's going the same way. There's no lights, there's no cross traffic, there's no pedestrians, okay? But because of speed, when things go wrong, they go wrong, okay? They often result in a fatality. So you have to respect the freeway, but the easiest way to do that is to follow the rules. So get up to speed, drive at speed, exit at speed, move around on the freeway to get into your own space and time. Where the faster traffic is pulling away from you, the slower traffic is behind you. And you just have this beautiful, peaceful gap to go 70 miles an hour in. Okay? It's fantastic. Okay, so give it a try. So read the signs, no trailers in the left 2 lanes, and don't be a damn driver. If I can shut this